Today's collectible spot, we are having a look at the Sideshow Collectibles Star Wars Empire Strikes Back Commander Luke Skywalker in his Hoth outfit. I suppose the only thing you're really missing from this set is a Tauntaun and a lot of snow, but it looks like you come with everything else that you would need for this incredible 6th scale piece. From a standpoint of a box, the box actually is considerably deep. It's as opposed to being wide and thinner, they've gone for a more square box treatment. The one side of the box, the front side, features Commander Skywalker here with his helmet on, his hat, and then his lightsaber and pistol in hand. However, when you turn around to the side of the box, you are also given the alternate head, because this figure does come with an alternate head, and a different interpretation. And actually, too, he comes with 2 lightsabers. He really comes with a considerable amount, and can't wait to get this guy opened up. The back of the box, once again, the alternate face in a different pose, and there is another pose of Commander Skywalker. Of course, as to be expected, the box also has magnetized front flap, and you can open it up to reveal the contents inside. Removing the tissue paper inside, there's Star Wars Commander Luke Skywalker, a pair of alternate hands with the display base from Hoth, his pistol, a display stand neck, and then on this side you have the figure with the alternate head, his binoculars, and lightsaber. Having said that, Spot's going to take a break, and I'm going to get this opened up out of packaging. But when we come back, we're going to get a better look at the Sideshow Collectibles Star Wars Commander Luke Skywalker Hoth outfit 1/6 scale figure. There's more heading your way, guys. Don't go anywhere. Stay tuned. Now, before we have a look, of course, at the figure, the first thing we'll want to look at is the display stand that comes with Luke Skywalker, and I am extremely impressed with this display stand. Initially taking it out of packaging, I thought the display stand was encapsulated in snow, this really nice snow sculpture on the side of the display stand. But what you can also do too is you can take the pieces off if you want to just have a straight display stand. Some people, depending on how they want to display their 6th scale figures, don't want to go too crazy with their display stands. They'd like to have a more simplified treatment. This gives you the option of displaying Luke just on a standard display stand, or you can take the pieces, and what you want to do is just line them up with the slots around, or at least the shape of the display stand, and add those pieces onto it, and you instantly have a scene, a very specific Hoth diorama. It's a great way to use one display stand and just add components to it, as opposed to retooling a brand new display stand. The display stand is just basically black, though, the same hexagon display stand as actually came with Snake Plissken as well. They haven't overlaid anything over top of it, but the way I'm going to be displaying Luke, if I don't eventually get a Tauntaun, because I really want to get a Tauntaun now, is I probably will be adding the additional snow pieces to it, just to kind of give it a more scene-specific display. So, getting a look at the figure itself, Commander Luke Skywalker looks phenomenal in this Hoth outfit. This is actually Spot's first, and not likely his last, Luke Skywalker figure, because I gotta say, they nailed it. Luke Skywalker is wearing or using the standard Prometheus body. He is 12 inches tall, but he has all this extra level of detailing with the very accurate Hoth outfit that he wears in Empire Strikes Back. His one of 2 faces features Luke Skywalker with his Hoth cap and helmet on here. It has a scarf, a real fabric scarf wrapped around the back section here. And while I did initially thought that cap was going to be removable, found out later that it was going to be an alternate head, which I think is a smarter approach, as opposed to trying to find the ways around maybe a removable hairpiece and adding that. They just opted to give us 2 separate heads. If you are also wondering too, the visor you can take, and you have to be a little careful with it because it's on an elastic, but you can bring it down and put it over top of Luke's face, which again, if Spot manages to get himself a Tauntaun. I really want to get a Tauntaun now that I've seen Luke in hand here. I probably will have Luke on the Tauntaun. Not really sure whether I have the actual goggles down, but it is a nice touch. Just be very careful though with bringing these down. I don't want to be stretching this elastic too much, because I had that problem with the Catwoman figure that her goggles I was pulling down, and I ended up breaking the elastic. So do be very, very careful. It seems like it is a strong elastic, but do be careful when bringing the goggles down that you don't end up doing what I did and snapping that elastic. But so far, so good. Likeness-wise, I think it's a pretty good representation of Mark Hamill. The skin, I feel, is maybe just a tad too dark. It doesn't actually look as dark on camera with the lighting on it, but in hand it does appear like it might be a little too dark. But still, from a sculpt perspective, it definitely looks a lot like Luke Skywalker. I think what also adds to it too, and you know, when you start incorporating this to a 6th scale figure, is really when you start seeing the life coming out in them, is when they put like a wash over the eyes to give it that wet look. The eyes is really what brings the life out of this piece. If not for that, it probably wouldn't look as realistic, but it definitely does a very good job of looking like Luke Skywalker. As for his alternate head though, it is an unhelmeted version, uncapped version of Luke Skywalker. It's essentially the same face, just the inclusion of the hair, which is why initially I thought when we were getting this figure, before they really started showing more details on the piece, and we were just showing at the initial, photos of the picture, I thought that the face was going to be used from both the one head to the other, and you were going to just swap out the hair piece or the cap piece, depending on which way you wanted to design it. And I'm happy to actually report that it's 2 separate heads, which I think is the smarter way to go. Likeness, though, again, on this, I think it looks a lot like Luke Skywalker. The skin color is a little too dark, but the likeness there is definitely is where they've succeeded. It's on a standard ball joint, so pulling off the head and changing it out is fairly easy. Getting a firm grip on the torso section of Luke here, and be very careful when pulling out that you don't disrupt that elastic on the goggles. Pop the head out of the socket there and easily change the head to the new head by just popping the head back onto the ball socket. And there you have Luke Skywalker. You have to just straighten out his collar, because the one thing that you might find is that the collar gets a little bent, a little folded down when you pull the one head out and change it out to the other, but still a fairly easy change from one head. Now, because this is Hoth Luke, he is wearing his Rebel multi-layered weather outfit. So he's got a couple of different layers to it. Now, you could remove this. You could take this completely off, and there's a Velcro closure on the under. But when you remove it, he's not actually going to have anything else underneath. So if you were thinking that you could take it off and have, say, the likes of, Bespin Luke, you can't. It's only actually 2 layers. It's the main coat piece, and then it's the undershirt underneath. It has several layers, though, to not really even just so much the fact that he's just got jacket and the shirt underneath, but there's like a multitude of different layers to the fabric that they use to the piece as well. It looks like he's got more of a rubber end piece to where his glove would be. This section right here feels a little more rubbery. Some nice, decent stitch work in the top jacket area there. There's some stitching in the arms and the sleeves area there. And he has areas where there are pockets. The pockets are working pockets, though there really isn't anything that you could put in there. He's also got some detailing on the sleeve there. His ranking there as well. It's a really clean and very accurate, authentic look to how he looked in Empire Strikes Back. Luke is also sporting a brown leather-like belt area here. The pouches that you see around the belt area are not ones that you can open. They're added, but they're stitched shut. Not that there would be anything you really would be able to keep in there. There is a clip on the front of his belt, however, that's going to be holding his lightsaber. I'll show you guys that in a second. And we spin around the side too as well. There is a holster that's going to be holding his DK-44 blaster. Now, I can pleasantly say the holster for the blaster is magnetized. Some of the hardest times when you get a 6th scale figure and their holsters require either a button or a snap or something to close them. They don't always close very well. This one, though, is magnetized, so it's going to close very, very easily. Accessories that come with Luke are 6 extra interchangeable hands, with really only one of them being a closed fist. All the other ones are C-clip or C-clamp hands, ideal for holding accessories. Some of them are more open palms. This one would be perfect for him reaching over to grab his lightsaber that was embedded in snow, but the majority of the hands are suitable for holding accessories. Luke also gets himself a pair of binoculars, which he uses actually in the movie, though briefly, just before he's, but a pair of binoculars that have a leather strap to them. Again, really nicely detailed. It's more of a cream off-white than it is white, and there is some aging paint that they've added to it to look like it has been used frequently. It's not something that Luke would have just picked up and started using right away. It has an age. There's a couple of little paint markings on the inside there. And he's got some black where the eyes would be looking through and some silver treatment on the top. Luke also gets his trusty DK-44 blaster, which again is equally painted as the binoculars. I have to say, I really got to tip my hat to companies like Sideshow Collectibles that when they do produce a 6th scale figure, they really think about everything. They would think like a blaster like this, for example, should have aging to it, should be weathered and scratched. It's not something that Luke would have just gotten a new blaster. This probably would have been something that the Rebellion would have had surplus of old blasters and anything that they could find to fight the Empire. So things like this, again, are painted very well, and it looks like something he would have had for a very long period of time. And what we can do is move Luke's arm out of the way. I'll show you guys how the blaster sits into his holster. We just lift the front snap open, slide the blaster into place, and then the closure can close right over top. Gives you a nice secure fit. Blaster's completely out of the way. I probably will not have my Luke displayed with the blaster. After all, if he is Luke, he's going to come with a lightsaber. And with this Luke, you're treated to 2 lightsabers. One with the non-beam, just the hilt end of the lightsaber, which has some really nice silver treatment to it. There's a little bit of gold up the top there. And it does also have a little clip, a little loop. You can take the loop of the lightsaber and it clips right onto the belt. Very easy peasy. The other lightsaber, though you won't necessarily be displaying Luke with 2 of them, the other lightsaber has the extended blade. The blade almost has like a glittered, it's not completely a straight beam. Not sure if you can pick it up, but there's almost like a roughness to the beam where it looks like it would have been a projection rather than just a straight. Sometimes the mistake that companies make when they make lightsabers is that they give it a look like it's just a straight piece of plastic. And it being energy, you would think that it would have a little more of a roughness to it. So it does look very cool. Shame it couldn't light up, but I mean, granted, for how small it is a very small piece, at least from the perspective of what being able to put electronic components in there. But, with certain lighting, it would look like the beam is lit. Now, to get Luke to hold his lightsaber or his blaster, what you want to do is hold on to his arm and just pop the socket out. Socket pulls out very easily on the hand, and you want to make sure that the rubber end of the glove still stays in place. Take the hand that you want to supply with, in this case I've got already with the lightsaber in hand, and we're just going to pop that into place. Now you might find when you add the hand, just want to straighten out the fabric of his costume, because it does want to sometimes twist when you're putting like the socket into place. Just straighten that out like that, and you've got Luke with his lightsaber in hand. Now, I know what you're thinking, though. You're thinking, wait a minute, if you've got an extra lightsaber, does it happen to peg it all into the display stand? And I checked that myself. There doesn't appear to be a section in the snow anywhere where you could lodge the lightsaber. That would have been a really neat touch if they had put some area in the snow. There's the one side of the display stand, and then there's the other section there. It's not really even so much... It's not even so much really the area where Luke is hanging upside down that I think this display base is depicted from. But as a little nod, it would have been nice if they had put some hole or something in the snow where you could have actually have lodged the lightsaber. When it comes to Commander Skywalker's articulation, well, he does have a ball joint in the head. Two ball joints, actually. He's got a ball joint that sits in the neck cavity, right down here, but then he's also got a secondary ball joint that sits in the head cavity as well. So between the two, you can move the head quite easily. Shoulders are also on a ball hinge socket. They rotate out, forward and back, not really hindered at all by the fabric costume that he's wearing. Has a nice swivel at the bicep. He has a double bend at the elbow, so you can really bend that elbow quite easily, all the way really up to Luke's mouth if you wanted to. Swivel at the forearm and swivel and hinge in the hand. Then the upper torso has that ball joint crunch. There's a swivel at the waist area, and the legs go forward back out via the hinge that's sitting in the lower torso. Swivel at the thigh, a double bend at the knee, and lastly a rotation and hinge in the leg and foot. This is one fantastic piece, and actually it's only really my second Sideshow Star Wars piece. The other one I have is the Darth Vader. But this guy is such a phenomenal looking piece. Sideshow Collectibles did a lot right with this piece by giving us two alternate heads, the two different lightsabers, the blaster, and really also too, I don't want to take anything away from this display stand. A very smart decision to give us a display stand with pieces that you can add on to it, so you can mix and match depending on how you want this guy displayed. Speaking of display, as cool as this guy really is, no pun intended, just think of how much more awesome this guy's going to be once he's sitting on top of a 1/6 scale Tauntaun. Oof, I can't wait to get a Tauntaun as well. If you guys are interested in picking this guy up for yourself, definitely click the link down below and head over to Sideshow Collectibles website. Today's collectible spot, we were looking at the Sideshow Collectibles Star Wars Empire Strikes Back Commander Skywalker in his Hoth outfit. Stay tuned, guys. Spot's going to have more collectible spots heading your way. Thanks for watching, as you always do. I'll see you next time.